Many people in Kabul are hoping to make it on a plane bound for Europe or the United States. Thousands have already managed, but many more are waiting for their chance. Tens of thousands have gathered outside Kabul airport, increasingly desperate to flee the country. When the Taliban let anyone through, it's usually only foreign passport holders. The situation at the airport is extremely tense. Sounds of gunfire can be heard, warning shots fired by both US forces and the Taliban. On Friday, a German civilian was shot on his way to the airport, though he's reportedly received medical treatment and is not in danger. For those unable to reach the airport, a lucky few could be airlifted in the coming days by the German army using 2 helicopters being deployed to Afghanistan. The situation is especially dangerous for employees of Western organizations and their families. The Taliban shot and killed a relative of a Deutsche Welle journalist while searching for the reporter. The German army has so far brought some 1,700 people to safety. Refugees are being housed in reception centers such as this one in the eastern German state of Brandenburg. German officials are conducting an inquiry into how the Afghanistan crisis unfolded so quickly, with a report due next Wednesday. Chancellor Angela Merkel will then make a statement to the Bundestag. Members of parliament are expected to ask many questions.
For some level of security, they don't want any terrorist threats, they don't want refugees, they do not want drugs crossing their borders. So for them, each one has a different set of priorities. Every Russian probably is the same to a large extent. But when it comes to others, obviously NATO countries have had a long stay in Afghanistan. They look at Afghanistan from a different perspective to them. The issues having to do with democracy building, with human rights, women's rights, all of those are priorities. And the Taliban now, you have to weigh the pros and cons, and you have to use sticks and carrots at times, and you have to work with the authorities in a way that both sides can find common ground. And this is going to be the challenge over the next few weeks and months with the Taliban as they consolidate power. We still don't know whether they're going to consolidate power in a purely Taliban style, or whether they're going to open the political space to others who can participate. That would be a big indication in my view. And then obviously when it comes to aid and assistance, they cannot rely just on 1 or 2 countries. They would have to also be accommodating and flexible enough so that the usual donors such as Germany and others...
Masood was born in Panjshir province, northeast of Kabul. Its steep mountains and narrow valleys have kept its population relatively safe through decades of war. The Soviet Union came with tanks and bombers and couldn't seize control. Even the Taliban were kept out during the civil war of the 1990s. Now it's the last Taliban-free area of the country. Inside my country and am the legitimate caretaker president. I am reaching out to all leaders to secure their support and consensus. But even with the Constitution and the legacy of a famous anti-Taliban fighter on their side, analysts say the Panjshir holdouts are unlikely to present much of a challenge to the Taliban. Masood has a famous name but few allies, and so far the Western countries haven't shown any signs that they will support an armed resistance.
2 people in Khost where a similar protest has taken place yesterday. There, one source said 2 people were killed after hoisting the national flag. That said, the Taliban yesterday, members have on social media announced that there will be a complete curfew in Khost. This seems to be at least partly implemented now today in the morning. In the same tweets, the Taliban announced also clearing operation in Khost, apparently triggered by this protest. To what extent this has actually happened is hard to say. 2 sources in Khost said they either heard no gunshots or only few. They mentioned that the Taliban did patrols, but I haven't seen any signs of a boss clearing operation in reaction to that protest. Blocking of the routes to the airport, as far as I can say. But for example, I'm in direct contact with an Afghan-American citizen who was told to come today in the morning, arrived and had no chance to get in as the gates were apparently closed, and then returned. So it is still chaotic. Even people that are told to come can't get in.
What about the political situation? Moving back and forth now between Kabul and the Uzbek capital Tashkent to bring people out. And from there, evacuees are being flown to Germany on commercial flights.